Welcome to Healthy Dose. Learn to repair damage, replace key hormones, and regenerate your body. Get ready to take back control and reclaim your life. Now's the time. Here's your Healthy Dose.
And welcome back to Healthy Dose, Doctors Joe and Buzz. Today's episode is going to be the pandemic pounds. Buzz, I think we deal with so many different conditions in our offices, regenerative medicine, lower back, but this is one that's been forefront since the pandemic. People have been stationary, they've been sitting at home. Just had some stats that we pulled from the survey of the American Psychological Association that said the majority of Americans gained weight during this pandemic. In fact, 6 in 10 have gained weight. And this is astounding to me when I read this, that of that 60% who gained weight, the majority, over 40% of the adults in the United States have gained an average of 29 pounds. 29 pounds. And as we know, every pound of weight that you gain is the equivalent of 4 pounds that crush weight-bearing joints. So whether it's the lower back, the middle back, the hips, the knees, and the ankles. So of course we're seeing an epidemic of these types of conditions, but we would be remiss not to talk about the consequences of weight gain, obesity, and I wanted to throw it to you because we get lots and lots of people. We get questions over Instagram, and they say, "What's the best way to lose weight?" There's all these fad diets out there; they've come and gone. But what have you found that we're working with in terms of a medical weight loss that we could advise people about in terms of getting on a program and starting something sooner rather than later?
Yeah, and I think a lot of people will ask, we have a musculoskeletal anti-aging type practice. What are you doing with weight loss? And weight loss is essential, or being obese has such a big effect on your musculoskeletal system and your health. If you really look at it, obesity is probably the leading cause of preventable death with all the other cofactors. It causes heart disease, certain cancers, stroke, can accelerate arthritis, you name it. Obesity is involved in so many different things, and it's very preventable if done properly. But there is, I think we both know, we both literally treated thousands of people with our medical weight loss program at this point. There is no cookie cutter weight loss, and all weight loss, in my opinion, starts off with the blood work. You have to look at the person's metabolic profile. Are there deficiencies anywhere? You really start there, and from there, then we come up with a custom weight loss program. And I really feel like, after all the people we treated, our program is very effective at this point. And I feel very comfortable. And we both, another key thing with weight loss and why medical weight loss, in my opinion, is so important is, number one, medical weight loss, you can't do it every day for the rest of your life. This is a program that was designed to help people lose weight quickly, because what happens with people on a typical diet is you're losing, we'll say 2 pounds a week. Well, no one notices you're losing 2 pounds a week. So people become frustrated, and there's always a birthday party or something every weekend, right? You know that from last week.
Yes.
But so you can, that 2 pounds you lose, you have one bad meal, you gain the weight back. So we specifically designed a program where you can lose, a pound to 2 pounds a day. And people notice that. And one of the best motivating factors is when, if someone loses 10 pounds in a week and they go to work and people are like, "Man, Joe, Will looks different," and you lose that weight, that's really motivating. And that's what we've designed the program around. But that I don't believe in fad diets. I believe in the science. You have to get the blood work done to start with, and then we kind of go from there.
Buzz, I'm so glad you mentioned that too, is that this is a stepping stone to move into a healthier weight loss type of a program for maintenance once you achieve your goal weight. And really what we want everybody to understand is this is not the way to go long term. But as physicians, we consult and advise with our patients that underlying health conditions that you have, such as obesity, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, vascular insufficiency, swelling in the legs, knee pain, the benefits of taking weight off quickly, medically supervised, far outweigh the consequences of trying to do this on your own and maybe not doing it at all. Like the equivalency is I get people all the time, because we check blood pressure in our offices, and we'll get people that have uncontrolled hypertension. They don't feel it, but when you take their blood pressure, they're 30, 40, 50, 60 points over where they should be. That on top of people eating too much protein, that on top of People, their blood is too thick because they've been eating too much meat, puts a tremendous toll on vital organs like the kidneys. So in our opinion, right, it's better to get on some sort of medication, even if it's short term, and you don't want to take it to control blood pressure because you're going to save your vital organs. And this is the same concept, that really controlling your appetite, controlling your calories for a short period of time, restricting them is going to be far more beneficial than keeping the weight on for another 2 or 3 years until you can hit a weight loss goal. Okay, so very, very, very key point. And I think one of the things that we start with this weight loss program is caloric restriction, right? I know you get it too, Buzz, but I always get people that say, well, I don't eat a lot and I still hang on to the weight. And it's just, anybody could starve. Anybody, if you don't feed someone, they will starve and they will lose weight. Your body is going to start to consume itself. And that's basically the cornerstone of any type of weight loss program is you have to either through diet or through diet and exercise in combination, burn more calories than you consume, plain and simple.
Yeah. Calories in, calories out.
That's it, Buzz. And whether you do it in a way where you're counting protein, fat, and carbs or counting calories, it doesn't matter so much the macros initially. Later on, it becomes much more important. But we have to know how many calories you're eating. And I think when people ask me what's the first step in starting a weight loss program, I ask them, well, how much are you eating? How many calories are you taking in? And the vast majority of people have no idea how many calories they're taking in. So our medical weight loss program puts you in a state where you're in a caloric deficit for everybody. So between 1,000 and 1,500 calories a day is a good way to kind of get into this range where you're getting in necessary essential fats, some carbohydrates, complex carbs, and adequate amounts of protein. What's also important, right, is not only that you're restricting the calories, but the time of day that you are consuming these calories. So another term, intermittent fasting. I know you have some thoughts on that, Buzz. I'll give you some of the questions that I get often is, what's the eating window, right? It's a little challenging when you say fasting to somebody. That means they can't eat for long periods of time. But there's an eating window, right? So if you can eat all of your calories in a certain time for targeted weight loss, what would that be? And what are some of the foods that will break the fast or break that eating window in the time when your body is essentially converting its own fat for energy?
Yeah, so fasting is it's very healthy for people too. There's lots of good research out there. It helps with the body regenerate cells. It's really one of the few anti-aging things that someone can follow through with. And I know sometimes when you mention fasting to someone, the first thing they say is, "Oh my God, I'm not going to have any energy. I'm going to be tired. There's no way I can do it." And I find just the opposite. And I think you do, Joe, too. The days that I fast, I actually have more energy because when you eat, and in particular you eat carbohydrates, your body secretes insulin, and your energies will tend to fall a little bit after those meals, right? Kind of like Thanksgiving dinner, people blame it on the turkey. Well, it's really all the carbs you had at Thanksgiving dinner, the pumpkin pie and the mashed potatoes, all the good stuff. It's the carbohydrates and the insulin secretion that cause your energy to go down. But fasting is pretty simple. And the fast that I try to do at least 2 days a week is I don't eat for basically 16 hours, but that includes your sleep. So I'm actually doing a fast today. It's one of my days. But, I quit eating last night about 10 o'clock. So you just take whatever time you quit eating the night before and add 4 hours to it. And that's when you can start eating the following day. So it's pretty easy. So 10 o'clock to 11, 12. So at 2 o'clock, I'll have my first meal today. So very easy. And anyone that tries it, and usually what people have to realize is when you're hungry, you're really not hungry, you're thirsty. So if during that time, I feel like I'm a little bit hungry, if I just drink some water, it kind of covers that. You are allowed to have a few things while you are fasting. You're allowed to have black coffee. You can have green tea and you can have stevia, but you can't have any cream in your coffee. You can't have amino acids. You can't have proteins. So when you're fasting, really you're having water, black coffee, green tea, and if you want some sweetener, you can use stevia as a sweetener, but that's it, nothing else. But following that simple routine at least a couple of days a week, there's lots of health benefits, and it's not that hard for someone to do. So if you're listening, whatever time you're done eating at nighttime, basically go to the next day and add 4 hours to that. So if you quit eating at 8 o'clock at night, so it'll be 9, 10, 11, 12, don't eat until 12 the following day, and you just completed a fast, and you'll feel real good. And the other thing you kind of mentioned too, Joe, I talk to people all the time, man, I really don't even eat anything and I can't lose weight. And, it is calories in, calories out. But the other thing we do try to address with our this medical weight loss is sometimes there are metabolic issues involved, decreased growth hormone, basically bioidenticals like testosterone, estrogen imbalances can cause this. Even a lack of, we're going to talk a little bit later about L-Carnitine. Like if you can't get the fat out of the cells, you will starve yourself, and you're going to struggle with weight loss, or you'll lose weight, but you'll keep it in all the places you don't. Like you'll see someone who's skinny, they'll have lean arms, but they still have a big belly because they're just not metabolizing fat properly. And, with our program, we really try to help people lose weight, in particular in those areas where it doesn't want to come off. And that's usually due to metabolic issues.
You know what, Buzz, I completely agree with that. And also to circle back is, one of the challenges that people relay is, they've tried diets before, but they're so low in energy. And one of the reasons that they're low in energy is when you're basically doing a caloric deficit, you're going to be limiting the amount of foods that you take in, obviously, but with that becomes a deficiency in nutrients, micronutrients and macronutrients. The benefit of a medical weight loss program is we test for a lot of those macro and micronutrients on the initial blood work, and we supplement our patients accordingly. So, for example, when people are very low on vitamin B12, we increase their B12 so they have more energy during these challenging times, so it's not as difficult to lose. It becomes actually quite easy. Low levels of vitamin D, help reverse insulin resistance, help protect the body, make you feel good, help the body release feel-good hormones as well. So really, really important. And when you think about medicals, sometimes what is medical is going to be challenging. There's things that we use to help our patients get through this easily, right? So the challenges that we're going to get anytime you're suppressing calories, you're either going to be very hungry, your appetite is going to be soaring, or you're going to get these intense cravings. So what do I mean by that? A lot of our listeners are going to relate to this, that they follow a diet for 3 or 4 days, but then they have one day or one meal where they just eat everything. They could eat 1,000, 2,000 calories in one sitting. And at the end of the week, they've lost no weight. In fact, they probably gained. So we use things, we have something that really suppresses the appetite to keep you in that eating window and to keep the portion control stabilized. And there's a couple of different appetite suppressants that we use depending on your metabolic profile. So one is called a form of phentermine, which is Adipex 37.5 milligram. Another one is called Garcinia cambogia. Why would you use those? To control appetite. When you don't eat when you're not hungry, or you eat less when you're not as hungry. And that, along with drinking enough water, really makes it quite easy to stay in that caloric deficit so the weight comes off easily. When can you not take these? Adipex is recommended or can be taken if you have normal blood pressure, if you don't have glaucoma, if you're not on any anti-anxiety meds. And if you are taking blood pressure meds, you use Garcinia cambogia. They work very, very similarly when taken before meals and really help you keep in that eating window. The second thing is when you're keeping your appetite controlled, but you have these intense cravings, almost like when someone goes out and drinks and they want to come home and they eat 1,000 calories at nighttime and can't understand why they have a big belly after a couple of months. These cravings are intense, and sometimes they're beyond what we can control normally in a caloric deficit. We have something I know that's been pretty profound in our practice that really helps crush cravings, Buzz. It's called Naltrexone. Give us some of the background on that and how it's useful in combination with an appetite suppressant.
Yeah, and the two things I want to mention here, you mentioned phentermine and Garcinia. These have both been around since the 70s with very good safety profiles. In particular, phentermine, but you'll mention phentermine to some people and they'll say, oh, doesn't that the thing that caused the mitral valve issues? It wasn't the phentermine. Basically what happened with phentermine, it was safely used for weight loss, for 15 plus years. And when the patent ran out on phentermine, what drug companies will tend to do is they'll come up with a new formula so they can repatent it and charge a lot more money. So they mix phentermine with another chemical. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. Yeah, and made it a new drug. And they found that when they combined it, the other drug they combined it with was causing mitral valve issues and heart problems. So, but phentermine is very safe to use. And, I'll tell you, people that do the program, the biggest complaint we get on our weight loss program is people have a hard time eating the calories we want them to eat. So, and it might sound crazy for people, but it really does such a good job. And you had mentioned the naltrexone to stop the cravings. Naltrexone is another drug that's been around for 20 plus years. It was originally developed to help people with opioid addiction, which, the addiction to opioids is one of the strongest addictions known to man. And they found it was very effective in curbing the cravings for opioids. It also helps curb the craving for alcohol, but they found it also helps the craving for food. So it's kind of like we've all been there before when you're sitting around and you're full, but you still want to eat, right? That's a brain thing. That's a chemistry thing. And then the low dose naltrexone just gets rid of that. So you just don't have those cravings to eat when you really don't need to eat. And once again, very, very safe in profile.
Yeah. Some of the key concepts of the weight loss program also, Buzz, is when you're in a caloric deficit, we still want to get the body to have energy for brain function. And one of the ways that we can do it is tap into the resources of the body. You get this a lot, I know, especially you've been working out and into bodybuilding for years. And when people say, I don't want to work out because I don't want to look like you. And what do we always say? Don't worry, you won't. You never will, because it's very disciplined type of weight training and eating. When you follow a program, it's very, very difficult, even with the best diet and without phenomenal genetics, to put on a good amount of muscle. However, when you lose weight or cut calories, the first thing to go is muscle. It's the exact opposite. So people want to lose fat when they diet, but you lose muscle. People want to gain muscle when they work out, and it's very, very hard to gain muscle. It's a whole different topic, different show we'll talk about. So one of the things that we use something in this program basically to get the body to tap into these fat sources. So you could break down fat, preserve muscle, and give yourself a lot of energy while the calories are low. And they're called peptides, Buzz. So when I mention peptides, it's kind of a foreign word to a lot of patients. They don't know what it is, but they are familiar with amino acids. So let's talk a little bit about the peptide Sermorelin and how it fits into this type of program.
Yeah. So Sermorelin's a peptide, and just to keep things simple for people, peptides are just chains of amino acids. They're naturally occurring. We have over 3,000 peptides in our body that exist naturally, and these chains of proteins basically signal different things in your body. Basically work as signaling molecules in your body. Sermorelin, once again, has been around for 20 plus years. It was originally developed to help dwarf children. And basically the way it did that is by stimulating the pituitary gland. The way I like to explain it, it's like a vitamin for your pituitary. So unlike taking a growth hormone, which has a negative feedback loop, basically if you have a growth hormone deficiency and someone takes growth hormone, really what happens is it shuts their pituitary down even more so, because your own pituitary, if you're taking it from an external source, it doesn't need to make it anymore. Sermorelin does not work that way. Sermorelin, which is this chain of amino acids, simply it sends a signal to your pituitary, hey, you need to pick up the pace and produce more growth hormone. And we know growth hormone, we all know it's good for anti-aging and building muscle, but the real thing it's good at is burning body fat, and in particular, abdominal body fat. If you look at people as they get older, one of the most sure signs of someone who has a growth hormone deficiency is abdominal fat. You'll see an older person who they're pretty lean on their arms and their legs, but they have a gut. That's growth hormone deficiency. And taking this peptide, Sermorelin, basically signals the pituitary to produce more growth hormone. And one of the things people notice right off the bat is a drastic decrease in abdominal body fat. Along with, there's so many other benefits with growth hormone, stronger, better skin, better hair, better blood vessel health, all these other things. But just used in our, in this program here for weight loss, it's amazing. It works very well.
Yeah, it's a key point to helping the body detoxify, getting rid of a lot of the fat. Well, excess estrogen, especially in men, can cause different types of cardiovascular complications. A lot of that estrogen, even with diet, you can't. Even when people are trying to diet on their own, they can't get rid of those fat stores. So it's an essential part of the program, because you can clear and rid the body of a lot of the excess estrogen that has been converted or processed over time from testosterone, and the body building more estrogen as we age. Along with detox, we use something called MIC-B12. It's something that helps give the patients energy, but the amino acids of MIC, methionine, inositol, and L-choline, really, really potent, strong detoxifiers of the liver. It's not uncommon that when we look at bilirubin, ALT, AST, some of these key liver hormones, alk phosphatase, we encounter patients with fatty liver, unhealthy liver. livers, the most regenerative organ in the body, when it works properly, can rid the body of a lot of toxins, help shed water weight and bloating. And these amino acids, along with B12, really help give patients a boost. So to your point, how great would it be if that, you're doing something, you're losing weight, you're toning at the same time, you're getting healthier, you're detoxifying, feeling better, clearing brain fog. I mean, that's really the cornerstone, the backbone of this weight loss program, and why we're so excited to share it with all of our listeners out there. You mentioned earlier, Buzz, L-Carnitine. We put this a little bit further down the road because it's kind of a fine-tuning amino acid. As a standalone for weight loss or significant weight loss, you're probably not going to see much of a difference with this. But during fasted cardio, during a depleted state, like when we're in a caloric restriction, like you mentioned, when you add L-Carnitine, that could be a game changer as well, right?
Yeah, most definitely. And I agree with you. You can't just take L-Carnitine and do what you're doing and lose weight. But where L-Carnitine really comes into the equation is L-Carnitine is the amino acid that pulls the fat out of your cells. So if you are a calorie deficient diet or your calories are down, that actually pulls the fat out of your cells so you can burn it for energy. And we had talked earlier, Joe, or you had mentioned earlier that sometimes when people go on diets, they lose a lot of muscle. You don't want to lose muscle when you're on a diet. You want to minimize that, because the more muscle you have, the faster your metabolism is. And your metabolism is how many calories you're burning just when you're sitting still. And that's why, you can take a big person that's got a lot of muscle, they can eat more calories and stay fairly lean. You take someone who is skinny or like a girl who's smaller and has no muscle, she can't eat as much as her bigger husband because she has less muscle, less metabolism. Well, the reason you lose muscle is when your body doesn't have enough calories, it needs to get energy from something. So it either can burn fat or it can burn muscle to gain this energy. And if you're deficient in L-Carnitine, your body will choose the muscle over the fat. Mm-hmm. If you have the L-Carnitine, which is just a natural amino acid, then basically what happens is it makes it very efficient for your body to burn fat instead of muscle, thus keeping your metabolism up.
Yeah,
it's essential.
Now we're coming to the part of the program which really could be first and foremost, which is insulin resistance, right? So insulin resistance, again, to state it simply, is when fat gets trapped inside the body and you can't not lose it. Even with diet alone, it's very, very difficult to reduce this. And really the only way that you're going to know, aside from looking in the mirror, is to do lab work. So a couple of the key labs that we look at to determine insulin resistance, one is fasting blood glucose. Those are levels that when you wake up in the morning, you want to see 100 or less is textbook normal. Optimal for lipolysis or breaking down fat would be between 75 and 85. A minority of people are there. And so what I tell my patients is, if you could be in a caloric deficit when you wake up, maybe that's part of your intermittent fasting time, and on top of that, you did a little bit of cardio, maybe even walking 20 or 30 minutes a couple of times a week, drastic weight loss, reversal of insulin resistance, looking at some of these other key hormones like sex hormone binding globulin, which will be on the low side if you're insulin resistant. This is one of the key concepts to moving us out of the quick weight loss program into maintenance. So this is a key goal of our medical weight loss program, is to begin the reversal of insulin resistance. A couple of key ways to do it: you can add more fiber to your diet, especially in the evening, so that you could lower those levels. But sometimes, basically, the mechanism is just broken, right? People have been in this state for such a long time, their body is rusty, the metabolic wiring is crossed, and they're waking up with elevated blood glucose. Instead of being below 99 or in that key range of 75 to 85, they're 105, they're 110. So not dangerously high, but when you're in a caloric surplus, you're going to gradually gain weight over time. And this is one of the reasons why people say, I don't eat a lot, but I'm gaining weight. So if that's the case, and we notice that our patients, looking at their hemoglobin A1C starting to become elevated, they're functioning more like a pre-diabetic, meaning they're tending to hold on to fat much more easily than the average person would, they need help, right? And so one of the most effective things that we've seen in the world of anti-aging, let alone in controlling insulin resistance, is the use of metformin. And so there's very specific ways to use metformin for anti-aging, very specific ways to use it for medical weight loss. How do you prescribe it, Buzz, or how is it prescribed in your office for targeted weight loss to help begin the process of reversing insulin resistance?
Yeah, and sometimes when you mention metformin to people, they'll say, "Well, I'm not diabetic. I don't need metformin." Well, metformin doesn't affect blood sugar levels. You can take metformin with an empty stomach, and you will be fine. But metformin, as you had mentioned, this is another compound that's been around for 20 plus years. Metformin has probably been more researched than any drug in history other than aspirin. Very good safety profile. But the way that it works is basically there's three mechanisms it works under. The first thing it does is it actually upregulates your insulin receptors in your body. So basically your body is better able to use carbohydrates when you take them in. It also makes the liver more efficient and prevents the liver from breaking down glucose improperly. And then finally, metformin slows the uptake of carbohydrates from your intestinal tract. So when you do eat carbs, you don't absorb as many of them. So it's really all three of those mechanisms that make metformin not only really good for weight loss, but also it's considered one of the very few anti-aging medications that a person can take. So we have our patients taking the metformin, take it twice a day, and the results are amazing. And even me personally, when I take it, I notice it actually decreases my appetite. So it's something that I take on a daily basis at this point. And not only do our weight loss patients take it, but most of our anti-aging patients are also taking this amazing medication.
Yeah, and that segueing into, later on we're going to be talking about macronutrients, carbs, fats, and proteins. How many calories comprise each one of those macronutrients? What's the most sustainable way to do this in the long term? But to your point, this is the beginning of it. It's a very important concept is to begin to tackle the insulin resistance in the body. Another one, Buzz, is just restoring gut health, because as you mentioned, the growth hormone deficiency can cause abdominal fat. Insulin resistance is going to cause abdominal fat, and then also poor gut health, the leaky gut syndrome, is another source of bloating, toxicity to the body, just overall malaise, fatigue, and joint pain. And so part of our protocol is also a method to restore proper gut health. And there's three components of the way the gut breaks down. So when you've been exposed to toxins from foods, when you don't take the right vitamins, maybe you don't even know what your blood type is, what type of body vitamins or nutrients respond best to your blood type, or you're overly stressed, there's bonds that hold the intestinal flora together, and they're very they're very susceptible to stress. When those bonds break open, you can get pathogens from food toxicity that enters into the blood system, and it circulates. Depending on where those toxins land, you name the autoimmune condition that it's going to be causing, whether it's connective tissue, it lands in the connective tissue, it's called lupus. If it lands in the thyroid, it's called Hashimoto's, and so on and so forth. A key component of sustainable weight loss is restoring gut health. So the first thing that we want to do is introduce probiotics, which are the healthy bacteria that line the intestinal flora that are weakened or diminished over time from the use of medications and oftentimes from the prolonged use of antibiotics. They don't grow back in the proper concentration on their own. So we prescribe a really, really efficient, highly concentrated probiotic. The problem with probiotics alone is that they are not enough, they are not numerous enough, and the body's environment is not healthy enough to maintain their population. They are easily overtaken by the bad bacteria or the pathogens. So taking a probiotic alone is not going to do it. What we do is we load dose these probiotics, titrate the dose, increase it over a period of 3 to 4 weeks. Once we can restore a favorable population, the key is to keep the healthy alive long enough that they can outnumber the bad. And in order to do that, you have to introduce something called a prebiotic, which is food for the probiotics. A lot of our listeners probably haven't heard of that, or if you have, maybe this is an educational process where we could really explain why they're so necessary. Prebiotics feed probiotics, only the good bacteria, not the bad. So if you can populate the good bacteria, keep them alive for a long enough period of time, the flora, the actual wall of the intestine is going to become fortified. And what begins to happen is that mucosal layer that basically separates the outside environment from the immune system becomes healthy again. So not only will the pathogens that we're taking in from our diet or from the environment going to be much more difficult to enter into the blood system, we're going to notice that the toxicity in our body decreases, the autoimmune type of responses that we're going to have are going to be lessening. And with that, the physical changes, less water retention, less toxicity means less joint pain, less brain fog. So imagine a way to lose weight, target body fat, feel really good about yourself, get these endorphins and feel good hormones to increase in the body. You're looking good, you're feeling good. I mean, that says it all. That's really the mission of doing this, is to get people feeling good about themselves too.
It helps the sleep pattern, no more bloating. I mean, all the above. You're addressing all these with this program.
Buzz, this is another key point. Like, where do you start? People, they don't even drink water, right? So if you're going to be detoxing the body, your cells are going to be dumping these toxins. They're not going to go anywhere if you don't flush them out of your system. So yeah. So what should people drink? Should they drink water alone? Should they, how much water should they drink? Let's start with that. What's a safe amount of water that people should be consuming to help begin the process of detoxification?
Yeah, everyone's different, obviously, depending on your size, but they always say that, you take your body weight divided by 2, and that's how many ounces you should be taking in a day of water. So obviously a bigger person would take in more water than someone smaller, but your body weight divided by 2 is how many ounces you should be taking in water a day. And remember, water isn't Gatorade, or once you put something in the water, it's really not water. Remember, you want pure, clean water. I drink a filtered water. I have reverse osmosis at my house, but you can buy drinking water at the store. But it's very important because basically, as you mentioned earlier, when you're detoxifying or you're exercising, a lot of the toxins end up in your blood, and if you're deficient in water, they just never get out of there and just stay in your system. So you really want to clear that stuff out.
Yep. And I think lastly, Buzz, we'll just touch on the fact of the importance of these key electrolytes, right? So if you're in a caloric deficit, you want to make sure that we're maintaining a healthy electrolyte balance. So, whether it's taking a little bit of saline, calcium, magnesium, all of that is part of the program as well, to keep joint health, cardiovascular health high, and keep you feeling good, help you sleeping well, help you to sleep well as well. So I guess in a nutshell, the benefits of the medical weight loss is that, just like you with bodybuilding and anything else, how you started out, you didn't do it by yourself. You had a coach, right? All the key athletes have coaches, and in any profession across the world, there's mentors or coaches, and that's what our programs really focus on, is bringing structure to this program and offering them accountability with weekly check-ins and support. You have lots and lots of patients that you've worked with over the years. Just by personal example, the shape that you're in, when people see you on a weekly basis, it helps them stay motivated as well. But even for people that that do this remotely, would you say that checking in on a weekly basis, the people are much more likely to follow through with the program than not?
Yeah, I mean, number one is accountability, right? If you're going to check in, you don't want to disappoint your coach. That's very important. And the other key component is, what people have to realize on this medical weight loss program, you're losing 1 to 2 pounds every single day. So people are going to notice this when if someone hasn't seen you for a week and they see you a week later, people notice 5 and 10 pounds of weight loss. And I find that's one of the most motivating things that people have in this, where compared to 2 pounds a week, no one notices that, right? So, the accountability and the quick results are what really make this program so effective, in my opinion.
Yeah, and we're always upfront and honest with people, but sometimes people come in, they want to lose weight. It's not often, but their BMI, their metabolic rate is sufficient. They're good. They just need to change up and tone up. So if we can help you, we'll let you know. If we can't, we let you know that too. But the most important part of this is to do something, right? The first thing that you should do, just contact our office, contact your office, check the links, the notifications below. We're always posting new information. We're always updating these diets with more cutting edge information and nutrition, but do something, right? Even if it's starting with counting the calories. The first, I think, a great piece of information to give the listeners is do a food journal. Just write down everything you eat and drink for a week. And if you can't do it for a week, do it for a day. You'll be surprised. You need to know numbers. This is a factual type of a program. How many calories are you taking in? That's the first question that we really ask our patients when they come in. Not only what diet are you on? Are you on a diet? Are you not on a diet? But how many calories does your average daily food intake comprise?
And what times of the day are you eating those foods also is very important.
Yep.
And a lot of people will be surprised about that. But, and this isn't about vanity. I want to be very clear. This is about your health. And as we mentioned earlier, there's really not many things I can think of that are more important to your health than keeping your body fat at a certain and a manageable level. Remember, this causes arthritis, heart disease, certain cancers, tons of metabolic issues, diabetes. I mean, you name it, almost any disease you can think of is aggravated, even COVID. What they're finding is a lot of the people that died, that passed from COVID, a high percentage were overweight.
Yeah.
So there's really not much you can do. I can't think of many things you can do that are better for your health than losing body fat.
You hit it on the head, Buzz. Under the umbrella of obesity is chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, oftentimes insulin resistance, venous stasis, swelling of the legs, and it's a perpetual weakening of the body, weakening of the immune system over time. And I can't think of anything better to get someone started with as they gradually begin to come out and get back to some sense of normalcy and rebuilding the immune system than doing this. So super excited again, as always, to chat with you, Buzz, and bring some of this cutting edge information to our listeners. When we get questions from the audience and from our listeners, we're going to do our best to respond on Instagram. So send us your questions, send us the things that you're most concerned about. Hit the like, hit the notification button below, because we're always going to be bringing out new information. We're really, a passion of ours is to stay up to date with the most current cutting edge information. And as things become available, we'll bring them to you. And so I'm looking forward to the next show, Buzz, when we talk about the maintenance program. This is a key where a lot of people fall off, and it's going to be equally as important. We can call this, step one, but step two is really, how do you maintain this in a healthy way for the rest of your life, where you can still eat the foods that you like, but still maintain, the weight loss and the desired weight that you worked so hard for in step one. So
yeah, I'm excited about that one. It's gonna be great.
Yeah. So we're going to catch up with you. Happy to give you your injection of this healthy dose. I'm Dr. Joe and Dr. Buzz, and we'll see you next time.
See you guys.
Thank you for joining us. This has been your Healthy Dose. If you enjoyed today's show, hit that like and subscribe button before you go. We appreciate your support. For more information, recaps on previous episodes, and to find out what's next, follow us on Instagram at Healthy Dose Show. Remember, repair, replace, and regenerate. See you next time.